Okay, we're back with section 1.9. We're going to do the first 3 examples today, and we're going to finish the rest on Thursday. So this section deals with finding perimeter and area of different kinds of figures. So we're going to start out by just looking at the formulas for each one of these. You should be familiar with these. We've used them before. We have the square that has side S. To find the perimeter, we're going to find 4 times S, whatever the side is. The area of the square would be the side squared, so S squared. For the rectangle, now sometimes we've called the sides length and width in the past. For now in geometry, we're going to be calling it the base and the height. So the base is the bottom and the top, and the height are the two on the side that we normally would have called probably width. Okay, so for this formula, the perimeter P equals 2B plus 2H. You can add all the sides up around if you prefer it that way. And the area formula is area equals base times height. And then finally the circle. This circle, we've got the radius shown and the diameter. Both the radius has to go from the center to the edge. Diameter goes from edge to edge, but it has to go through the center of the circle. And the circle is named with whatever the center is called. So in this case, we would call this circle O. The circumference is the distance around. It's similar to perimeter, except it's dealing with circles. So for the circumference, the formula is either pi times d or 2 times pi times the radius, because the diameter equals 2 times the radius. So either one of these would work. If you're given the diameter, you can use pi times d. If you're given the radius, you can use 2 times pi times r. And the area of a circle is pi r squared. Okay, so the first 3 examples deal with perimeter, and that's what we're going to look at today. Example 1. Too many things in my lap here. Example 1 says that your pool is 15 feet wide and 20 feet long, with a 3-foot wide deck surrounding it. You want to build a fence around the deck. How much fencing will you need? Okay, so first we need to label. They have the picture labeled in your book. The pool across this way is 20 feet. Okay, and it's 15 feet wide. My drawing is definitely not to scale. And then around it you have the pool deck, and it's 3 feet on each side. So from here to here is 3 feet. From here to here is 3 feet. And the same at the bottom and the side, the other side. Okay, and they're asking me how much fencing I need to surround it. So part of the challenge on these problems is to figure out if they're asking you for perimeter or area. So things like fencing, or anytime they're talking about the distance around an object, we're going to use perimeter. So what we want to find is the perimeter of this rectangle, but they want to go put the fencing all the way around the outside of the deck. So I need to know what each of these, the new base and height are. So along this side, it was 20 feet, but now I'm adding 3 feet on either side of it, so it's going to be 26 feet. And then across the bottom, it was 15 feet wide here. I'm adding 3 feet on each side, so that would be 21 feet along the outside. So I'm going to find the perimeter. That's going to be 2 times 26 plus 2 times 21. So whatever the base is times 2, and whatever the height is times 2 is what I want to do. So in this case, I'm going to get 52 plus 42. That's going to end up being, let's see, 494. And it was in feet. Now, notice that the perimeter, all of these perimeter and circumference will be in feet or inches or meters. When we do area, we're going to get feet squared, square inches, square meters, It will always be squared when it's area, but when it's just perimeter, we don't square it. So we just have feet there. Okay. The next example we're going to look at is the finding circumference of this circle. So this is circle A. The dot in the middle with the A is telling us how to name the circle. If they draw the line all the way through the center, touching both sides, they're meaning that this is the diameter. And so the diameter here is 12 inches. And they ask me to find the circumference first in terms of pi, and then to round it to the nearest tenth. So in terms of pi, since I have the diameter, I'm going to use pi times d, which is just pi times 12, or 12 pi. We normally put the number first, and then the pi. And that would be inches. So 12 pi inches would be the circumference of the circle. Now, if I want to put it in using tenths, I'm going to look on my calculator. Remember that you're allowed to use your calculator anytime now in geometry. So hopefully you have a scientific calculator, or if you're using your phone, you can turn it to the scientific side. But there should be somewhere on your phone or on your calculator where it has a pi listed. And usually you have to do the second function or the shift key to get it to work. So what I'm going to do is 12 times, and then I have to hit shift and the button where the pi is above it. The approximation that they give me, well, they have the decimals going all the way to the end. This is an irrational number, but we usually use the approximation 3.14, or sometimes we use the fraction 22 over 7. So I'm using 3.14. I'm using actually what the calculator put out for me, so it actually goes further than that. And what I get is 37.6991184. So if I'm rounding to the nearest tenth, I'm looking at the 9 that comes after the tenth place, and it's telling me to round up. So I would get 37.7 inches. So as you're doing these circle problems, make sure you pay attention to if they're asking you to leave it in terms of pi. That just means to leave the pi in the answer. If they ask you to round it, make sure you round it to the digits place that they ask you to round it to. So if they ask you to round it to tenths or to hundredths or whatever that might be. Okay. So I want y'all to do the first part, part A of the quick check 2. So stop and work it out, and then come back for the answer. Okay, in this problem they told us that the radius of the circle was 18 meters. And they want us to find the circumference in terms of pi. So that means I get to leave pi in my answer. This time, since they gave us the radius, I'm going to use the formula 2 pi r. So it's 2 times pi times the radius 18. That will give me, I can't multiply the pi if I'm leaving it in terms of pi. I need to leave that there. But I can multiply the 2 times the 18. So that will give me 36 pi. And the units were meters. Now if they asked me to round it to the nearest tenth or hundredth, I would take this and put it on my calculator, either using 36 times the pi that's on your calculator or 36 times 3.14, either one. Okay, example 3. We're going to see that sometimes they give us